Billam Smith has just scored Richard Riakporhe 1 easily in that fight. I scored it 117 to 110 to Billam Smith. And yeah, Billam Smith putting on a fantastic performance there. Before we get on to it though, snooze fest fight though, let's be real. Even though Billam Smith was good in that fight, did his thing well, it was a snooze fest. But the scorecards were an absolute shock. Were a shocker. 115 to 112 on 2 scorecards. Sat those judges right now. What the bloody hell were they watching? 115 to 112. If that point had been taken off Richard Riakporhe in that final round, then there either would have been 1 point in it, or they possibly could have scored it a draw. Shocking stuff, to be honest with you, for those 2 judges. The other judge scored it 116 to 111, which I still think could be a bit too close. I think how you can score that fight can either be 118 to 109, which I've seen a lot of people scoring it, or 117 to 110, which is what I've scored it. Yeah. Billam Smith was dominant in that fight, basically. Absolutely dominant. Billam Smith was really going well with the body shots in that fight, and those uppercuts from Billam Smith as well were absolutely fantastic. Richard Riakporhe, on the other hand, bottled it in front of his home fans. Honestly, he wanted that dream fight at Selhurst Park, went in there, and that was one of the most lazy performances I've ever seen from him. The laziest ever performance I've seen from Riakporhe. I've got something in my eye. Honestly, you go into a stadium in front of your home fans at Selhurst Park, and you absolutely bottle it, and you're lazy the whole time, clinching the whole time. And yeah, like Riakporhe ended up getting a point taken off him. I thought the ref was actually nice, only taking 1 point off of him, and that was in the last round. Richard Riakporhe, his clinching was shocking there. It was literally like watching a B-Tech Lawrence Okoli. Honestly, shocking performance there from Richard Riakporhe. As good as Billam Smith was. Billam Smith was very good at being able to get some good work in before Richard Riakporhe was able to make the clinches. Billam Smith wanted that fight up close. That's what happened. He got that fight up close, was easily able to shut down the gap. Billam Smith was good with that jab. Richard Riakporhe tried to take it away from him, but Billam Smith was good with his right hand, good with some good shots to the body. The uppercuts were on point from Billam Smith the whole fight, consistently snapping the head back of Richard Riakporhe. Literally, the only good round Richard Riakporhe had in that fight was round 9, where he was able to land some decent shots, land the odd good right hand, which knocked Billam Smith's gum shield out. That's it. Billam Smith, apart from that, was absolutely dominant. Billam Smith was able to knock the gum shield out to Richard Riakporhe at the point with a good, solid, stiff jab. And just overall, Billam Smith just won that fight based on an overall work rate. He was easily able to outwork with Richard Riakporhe there. It's a shocking performance when you bring your home fans into the stadium, into your club stadium. You bring them in, and you perform like that. A fight that Richard Riakporhe wanted for ages at Selhurst Park. He goes in and does that. Shocking stuff. Shocking like Crystal Palace. Honestly. Funny, to be honest. But yeah, Billam Smith, fantastic performance from him. Yeah, just the body shots were really good in the amount he was able to land, the amount he was able to get in. And, you know, he wanted it up close at the end. Like, Richard Riakporhe was clinching late on. That's exactly what Billam Smith wanted to do. And as good as Billam Smith was, though, it was like a lot of times in that fight, Richard Riakporhe was letting Billam Smith smother his own work. So I don't get it. It was a good performance there from Billam Smith, but in the end, it was like Riakporhe was letting him smother his work. It's like Riakporhe could not be asked in that fight. Riakporhe was so lazy, not landing enough. Riakporhe landed the odd good right hand. That's it from Riakporhe. Billam Smith was dominant in the rest of that fight. He was good with the jab because later on in the fight, Riakporhe just wasn't able to shut down the jab of Billam Smith. And Billam Smith was just able to get that jab through the right hand, through the guard of Richard Riakporhe fairly easily there, to be honest with you. I thought Billam Smith was really good defensively, had a good high guard for the whole fight, was able to duck under a lot of big right hand from Riakporhe. And at the end, though, Riakporhe just seemed fairly easy for Billam Smith to read. Billam Smith was able to read him really easily. Billam Smith was clever in that fight, and he was able to, find lots of different ways to be able to, land some good, strong body shots, which was good to see there from Billam Smith. Did exactly what had to be done. But yeah, if you look at it from a Richard Riakporhe perspective, it was just shocking. Honestly, it was a shocking performance from him. He was just unable to land them and just wasn't throwing enough. Billam Smith was, to be fair, Billam Smith was able to manage the range well there, to be fair. He knew his in and outs well, was able to get in there, get out well, and just knew when Richard Riakporhe was able to, when Richard Riakporhe was throwing, and was just able to read him really easily. So, yeah, just an all-round fantastic performance from Chris Billam Smith, doing exactly what had to be done. Billam Smith is mixing his shots up well, but the uppercuts were, they look really painful, to be fair. Big uppercuts landing throughout there by Billam Smith. It's a lot of times where, we saw Richard Riakporhe trying to come in, trying to force some kind of clinch. Billam Smith was just able to try and catch him when he was coming in and land uppercuts. At a point, he literally sent Richard Riakporhe into the into the ring post, basically, uppercuts him, and then Richard Riakporhe had his back turned to him. And yeah, I mean, look, the whole fight was messy, though. Billam Smith was a very well-deserved winner. The whole fight was really messy, though. The referee had to keep on having words with Richard Riakporhe about his ridiculous amount of clinching. I just don't see why he had to do it so much. It was a ridiculous amount of clinching. It just got too much in the end, though, didn't it? And let's be real, Billam Smith did all he could to try and make it entertaining in that fight. And Billam Smith was landing some good shots. And had Richard Riakporhe going at a point, I think it was the 8th round or something, 7th or 8th round, it was like Billam Smith really had Riakporhe going, had him up against the ropes, had some big shots going at him. And Riakporhe was holding on for dear life a lot of times in that fight, trying to keep away from some big body shots. And, Riakporhe was in trouble a lot of times in that fight. Yeah, I mean, he was. I mean, Riakporhe just seemed tired from the opening bell. I'm not going to lie. Riakporhe was so tired from the opening bell. It was embarrassing to see from him, if we're being honest. Embarrassing to see from Richard Riakporhe. He was tired from the opening bell, just couldn't be bothered. And, his fans are going to be really disappointed with that. He took them all out, Richard Riakporhe, just to put on an absolute shocking performance like that. I'm angry for his own fans, to be fair, because, his fans wasted his money to watch that, and Riakporhe could not be bothered in there. As good as Billam Smith was, Richard Riakporhe's performance must have criticism. And Billam Smith must have all the praise in the world, though, because he was fantastic, able to capitalize on Riakporhe. And, Billam Smith's always able to capitalize on these clinches now. He's able to capitalize on Lawrence Okoli with all his clinching. And, it's because Billam Smith's really good on the inside as well, though. It's because of how good Billam Smith is on the inside. He's always able to land in some good, sneaky shots that hurt. And, Billam Smith, his body work is unbelievable. Like, you don't want to get hit by loads of body shots from Billam Smith. We saw what he's able to do to Masternak. We saw what he was able to do to Riakporhe today with them. Anyway, I'm going to end this video here. Thanks for watching this video, King. I'll speak to you in a bit. Thanks for watching. Peace out.